George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. June is African American Music Appreciation Month, or as we like to say around the way, Black Music Month, a time to honor the legacy, power, and global influence of Black music in all its forms, from spirituals and jazz to hip hop, R&B, and beyond. Right here in the Q, Syracuse Community Connections is lifting up this cultural celebration with events, performances, and conversations that bring the community together through rhythm, voice, and storytelling. Joining me now is educator, poet, and community builder, Cedric Bolton, who's helping to lead the charge and honoring the soundtracks of our lives. Cedric, always good to see you, my brother.
Same here, George. Appreciate you for having me on this evening.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. African American Music Appreciation Month. I'm so excited that we have these events happening at Syracuse Community Connection. And to kick off, we had the songwriter tonight with Erica Turner, but she's known as Erica Lovett. That's her artist name.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sat in the room tonight, and even though we might not have had a full house, we talked about music and talked about our favorite artists and the lyrics that we love of Lauren or of Aretha Franklin or of Gil Scott Heron, names this was coming up. So it's just nice that we're able to know that we have presented global sounds, you know, from our struggles here in America, and what wonderful sounds we've created, like you said, from swing, jazz, gospel, R&B, blues, rock, hip hop. I don't know what's next, George, that we're going to be able to create, but we've done enough of it.
Listen, and so you kicked it off. You've got a couple of other performances. What other genres are being highlighted in your programming, and how did you come up with the lineup that you did?
So we have next week we have the art of beat making, and we have Claymation, who is a local band here in Syracuse,
Right.
young emerging band, and we try to keep it to where we can highlight R&B or someone that can do R&B but also do some pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe even throw a little gospel in if they're feeling a little inspirational. But when I was thinking this, I actually heard them perform at the Black History Month celebration
Mm-hmm.
at Syracuse University, and
Yes.
I know Dion Patterson and some of the band members, so I invited them to participate in this month-long celebration. But also Juneteenth, the day before we have the marches and stuff, that they'll do like a small concert, a mini concert at the Syracuse Community Connection, 401 South Ave, and also to highlight some of the music that inspired them. Whether it's jazz, funk, R&B, rock. We want to be able to celebrate that and let the young people know that these are people who really paved the way for us to even celebrate the type of music that we have. So we have that happening next week.
So
Then we
so
have
on that's June 11th. That's this week. That's this Wednesday.
correct.
So Wednesday night, what time?
Wednesday night is going to be the beat making at 6 o'clock. So it'll be beat making, the art of beat making with me. So I'm going to show people how to have a concept and build a song from beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the concert, which is going to be on Friday, June 13th, 6 p.m. Doors open, 5:45. It's $10. $10 is what we're asking people. It's not a lot, but just to support the center and support the artists that are performing. And then we have the week after, the art of emceeing, where we want to highlight some of the hip hop artists who are local, who have talent, and showcase some of the work that they're doing. And if they have albums out, or if they want to talk about how they write, maybe even showcase some of the work that they're doing on stage. So we want to give that highlight because that is one of the most emergent art forms that have come out of all of what become before it, right? Essentially that
And what's the date of that? Give us
that
some
one,
dates, brother. You just
yes,
throwing
that one.
out days. We need dates.
that's 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 the 18th. That's the 18th, 6 p.m. It's another
Okay.
Wednesday, 6 p.m.
Uh-huh.
And then on the 25th, George,
Thank
we
you.
have the see you gotta I'm getting my training. I got you, George. I've only been working around you for the last several years, so he
Okay.
should have it by now, right?
Right.
So and then we have the Soul Karaoke on the 25th of June at 6 p.m. and Dre Tronics is going to be our DJ for the night. So if you want to come through, some people sing in the bathroom, sing in, living room or sing in the car. You got some favorite songs, Motown, Philly era songs, or we're gonna be playing a lot of it, 80s, 90s
And
stuff.
that's going to
So
be from 6 to what?
to 6 to 7:30, 8 o'clock.
6 to 7:30, 8 o'clock. All right.
Yes.
So you can
Yes.
come after work, get your
Yes.
karaoke on.
Correct.
And so let's go through the dates once again. You have the 11th,
The 11th.
the 13th,
Yes.
the 18th,
Mm-hmm.
and the 25th.
5th.
All
Correct.
right. There you go.
Yes. Yes.
And this is all I was really intrigued by your description of the hip hop
Mm-hmm.
because I wonder about the Syracuse hip hop scene,
Mm-hmm.
one, and then two, can you have hip hop without the struggle, quote unquote? In other words, because we know that it's a genre born out of the streets and what was happening in the streets, but can it be authentic without that piece of it?
Well, I think that's a part of having the talking about it and having people to be able to engage that piece,
That's a
especially.
question, right?
Correct, correct. I'm glad you asked that. To sweep someone like myself, and if we have older folks like myself who grew up in that era, we can highlight some of that history and that knowledge that went through, and some of the struggles of the beginning versus the kids who are coming out now who might not understand the guys who's carrying the crates or the kids who's carrying the crates. It's for the DJs and the break dancers and the graffiti person. So even though we're focusing on the art of emceeing, there's a legacy of history that went through a lot of those earlier rappers, right? And, don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying
Grandmaster
not to lose
lose
my
my,
head.
you
Ha
know,
ha 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 ha.
that those lyrics is classic and iconic lyrics that
Listen, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
exactly. Exactly. And I'm not to knock what the kids are doing now because that's their generation, but
Hmm.
there's a legacy that they have to understand. And I think by having little pop-ups like this gives the community a chance to talk about it, right?
So,
And mhm.
hmm.
And be more aware of, that earlier history that is not blended in the conversations today unless you're around the Kendrick Lamars and the Commons and those who are in that conscious, which is a very small pool that's being elevated in the mass media.
I know that there's a legacy here,
Hmm.
but I feel like the legacy of Q's hip hop
Hmm.
is so underground. Like or let me say it this way: maybe I'm so far removed from it as an OG that I don't even know. But I really feel, Cedric, that there needs to be some elevation of the scene or the whatever it is around hip hop
Hmm.
here in the Q's because you know I. And I know that there are people who have really come off who are from here,
Right,
but we don't have there's no real preservation of that anywhere that I know of.
right. Well, I think that's the conversation that has to be had in Syracuse is that we have so much talent that goes back to scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Rufus
Okay,
Morris,
scratch.
right?
Yes, yes, yes.
He's the first person I met when I moved here to Seth Marcel.
I was going to say Seth Marcel.
Yep,
Yes.
the young lady named Horizon, who I met, another
Mm-hmm.
female MC. I think she's one of the few female MCs that I've met in Syracuse. Haven't met anyone else besides her, but still, even in that sense, these are folks who have put in work in Syracuse and have traveled and put in the name of Syracuse and have performed on stage with Jadakiss and Snoop and all these folks that are mainstream now. But 20, 30 years ago when you had certain cues rappers who were getting down to New York City and Chicago's and all these places, who made a name before Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yeah. So Jada Kiss, right? Why do I
Mhm.
I always hear his name? Why is he so connected to the Q's?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he used to come up here. There was like a group of rappers used to come up here from the Dipset. There was a couple of groups from the Dipset that used to come up here. I think they have like relatives that live here, and they
Hmm.
made their way and they made connections to some of the folks that uh not only the community but the rappers who are here and have probably, I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe Seth Marcel may have collaborated with Jada Kiss back in the days on some projects. That's I have to really confirm that, George. So, but if I'm not mistaken, I've heard rumors of him writing and doing work with him back in the days.
I would love to see the legacy of the people like Scratch and Seth
Hmm.
Marcel and the sister you said Horizon. I would
Hmm.
love to see some permanent collection of the history of
Right.
Syracuse hip hop. So that's your challenge, brother, because I know you
Yes.
like to dabble in stuff. So
Yes.
I'm speaking it here. We need to figure out how to
Hmm.
some archival. You know what would be a good place to do this? If Bishop Library, who has that second floor upstairs room
Hmm.
that was first dedicated to African American books and literature. Forgot what we called that when it was first created, and I
Uh-huh.
forgot the brother who was the driving force to getting that done.
I know.
Forgot your name, but you know who you are.
Well,
But
there's Carol Charles's daughter, Carolyn Charles, just did she had did a series of projects before she became Dr. Charles.
Dr.
She
Caroline Charles, yes,
Yes, she had an exhibit along with Jessica. I can't remember Jessica's last name, but they had an exhibit that they did on photography,
yes.
Syracuse photography, and they had families that they had interacted with, and they had displays of all these pictures of old time Syracuse, current Syracuse, and all these images of families. So I mean, they have a curator, someone like that, that's doing that type of research. That might be something tapping into if that's
Well,
an interest of hers in the Bird Library, because that's where they've
well,
archived a lot of those
well.
types of projects. Yeah.
I would like to see some permanent um tribute to the
Hmm.
legacy of Q's hip hop. So Seth, Scratch, I know Scratch is lives outside, lives in another community now, but I would
Hmm.
love to, y'all got pictures and
Hmm.
stuff. Let's start a collection because Cornell University has one of the largest, uh,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You know about the Cornell Hip
Yeah.
Hop
Yeah.
Collection. I
Gwen
mean,
is
like,
involved with that. Gwen is
right?
involved with that. Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
involved?
Gwen,
Yes.
my wife. My wife
Yeah,
is
yeah,
involved
yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
Cornell University, right?
And Harvard too.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
has one of the world's largest collections of that. So
Hmm.
so I mean, it's preserved, it's
Right.
behind the glass, all of that, right?
Hmm.
And
Yep.
underground and the whole thing.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that we need something like that in Syracuse. And speaking of which, you've always been passionate about spoken word and hip hop. How do you see those art forms fitting into this month's recognition? Because you got the art of emceeing, but I don't
Hmm.
see no spoken word in there.
Well, the spoken word piece I didn't add in there because I was really focusing on just the music side of it,
Uh huh.
and as I thought about it, uh I will actually participate in the concert and do a poem or something, like share a poem, because it's a Juneteenth poem that I also want to share. It's almost like my ode to Black folks, and that I want to do this poem. And if I have some other people, but I wanted to really focus in on the music because so
Mm-hmm.
often we don't get a chance to. Besides, when this month happens, not a lot of people are having programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this would be a good start to highlight something like this and maybe kick off something next year. At the same time, we could do something where we can focus on a project that could probably, connect with what you were talking about with the hip hop archive and stuff. But that takes the networking and talking to folks and seeing where the interests lie, and who's going to lead that type of project. Researchers that really are really into that, um, especially if they're doing their dissertations on it and stuff like that. So there's someone out here who's doing it, and I'm quite sure Caroline, Dr. Caroline Charles, I gotta get used to saying this. I'm so proud of her that she is finished up, and I don't know if she's gonna stay in Syracuse or not, but I'm gonna definitely reach out to her and see, does she know, and of course Gwen and her people that she knows, scholarly people that she might know. And Don Sawyer would be an excellent person if he was living in Syracuse to been a
Well,
part of that, because that was part of his research, is that he did a lot of work related to hip hop, sociology of hip hop. So
well, I'm putting it out there. I'd like to
mhm,
see some permanent tribute to the legacy of all music really in Syracuse,
mhm,
but especially hip hop as a genre now,
right,
its origins and its legacy and how that's shown up in the cues. All
yeah.
right, if you had one message about the power of our music and celebrating African American music during this Appreciation Month, what would it be?
It's the most inspiring work piece of work that has ever been produced,
Mm,
and it can't be duplicated ever. I don't care how often they sample it, can't duplicate it. It's just the best piece of work that's ever been produced. All of it. That's
amen.
it. Period.
All right, where can people learn more about the month's events and how to get involved with Syracuse Community Connections?
Yes, well, we have a Facebook page. You can actually go Syracuse Community Connections and, like our page, and we have lots of events there. We also have our Instagram, which is the same thing, Syracuse Community Connection, which we have a lot of our events as well as there. And if you definitely are interested, you can sign up and roll, and we have a newsletter that goes out, and you'll get information as well as there. So we have the links on those pages. I'm really excited about this month because one, we get a chance to really highlight, Philly sound, Motown sound, some of this, incredible record labels, independent record labels that pushed a lot of our music back in the 60s and 70s. And I can't speak about the 50s, but I know about the 60s and 70s and 80s and these independent black owned labels that supported our music.
All right, it's African American Music Appreciation Month at Syracuse Community Connections. Please be sure to check out the full schedule of events and performances on their Facebook page and on Instagram, whether you're into jazz, gospel, hip hop, or soul, karaoke, all of that. We invite you to celebrate with Syracuse Community Connections. And we thank our guest, Cedric Bolton. Until
Thank
next
you.
time, my brother,
Thank you.
inspiration for the nation.